Victoria sat quietly on the soft couch in her family's large living room scrolling through her phone. The marble floor sparkled, the chandelier above her head glowed like a diamond, and the scent of fresh flowers filled the room. But none of it made her smile. She had just returned from her friend's engagement party. Everyone was there with someone, everyone except her. Suddenly her younger cousin Cynthia walked in with a bright smile on her face. "Hello Victoria," Cynthia said, dropping her designer bag on the table. "Still single, I see." Victoria frowned. "Cynthia, what is it this time?" Cynthia smirked. "You're older than me, richer than me, but still no man wants you. Isn't that sad? Not even a boyfriend. You have everything, yet you have nothing where it really matters. How pathetic can you be?" Victoria's eyes turned cold. "Watch your tongue, Cynthia, or I will deal with you." Cynthia laughed, flipping her long braids. "Please get a man like my fiancé first before you talk to me. I'm getting married in 2 months, and guess what? You'll be sitting with the single women at the back again." That was enough. Victoria stood up. "Get out. Now." "Oh, I will. I just came to show you the invitation card," Cynthia said, waving it in the air and walking out like she owned the place. Fuming with anger, Victoria stormed into the kitchen, where her mother, a soft-spoken woman in her 60s, was making tea. "Mommy, can you imagine what Cynthia just said to me?" "What happened again?" her mother asked without looking up. "She said I'm older than her, yet I have no man. That I'm pathetic. And she's not lying, you know. She rubbed it in my face that she's getting married before me." Her mother placed the kettle down slowly, then faced her daughter. "She shouldn't have insulted you, what's wrong?" "But Victoria, she is right." "What?" Victoria blinked. "You are way older than her. You're not getting any younger. You need a man. I need grandchildren. Your father too. The family reunion is next month. All your cousins are bringing their husbands or fiancés. Even if it's a poor man, just get someone." Victoria gasped. "Poor man? Never. Mommy, do you want me to become a joke in front of all those foolish girls you call my cousins?" Her mother sighed. "I've said my mind. Think about it." Victoria was too angry to speak. She grabbed her phone and car keys. "Meet me at home. I'm not ready for this conversation right now." She walked out, slamming the door behind her. 2 days later, Victoria was driving home from a shopping mall. Her mind was still troubled. The family reunion was just a week away. Everyone would be there with their husbands or fiancés. Only she would be alone, and she couldn't stand the thought of Cynthia mocking her again. As she waited at the traffic light, something caught her eye. On the roadside sat a beggar. His clothes were dusty, his hair was messy, but something about his face made her look twice. He wasn't ugly, in fact, he was very handsome. She rolled down her window and stared at him. The beggar, sitting quietly with a small tin in front of him, looked up and smiled politely. "Good afternoon, madam." "Do you always sit here?" she asked. "Yes, madam, this is my spot," he replied humbly. "What's your name?" "Richard." Victoria stared at him for a while, then suddenly had an idea, a crazy one. "Get in the car." He looked confused. "Madam?" "I said get in. I want to talk to you somewhere private." Richard looked around, unsure. "I'm sorry, madam, I can't enter a stranger's car." She smiled. "I'm not a stranger. You're about to become my fiancé." "You're what?" Richard's eyes widened in shock. "I'll explain everything. Just come with me." He hesitated, then slowly stood up, picked up his tin, and got in. Inside her mansion, Victoria explained everything. I need someone to pretend to be my fiancé for our family reunion, she said. My cousins are getting married and I can't show up without someone by my side. I need you. Richard laughed nervously. Madam, I'm just a poor beggar. Your family will know I'm not from your world. That's why you'll stay here with me before the reunion, she said confidently. I'll clean you up, change your look, teach you how to talk like a rich man. They won't know the difference. I'm sorry, madam, he said, standing up. This is too much. I can't lie to your family. She crossed her arms and looked at him. I'll pay you. He paused. I'll give you 5 million naira now and 5 million naira after the reunion. Deal? Richard blinked. That kind of money could feed him for months. You're serious? He asked. She nodded. Dead serious. He thought for a moment then slowly sat back down. Okay, I'll do it. Victoria smiled with satisfaction. Good. You'll stay in the guest room. Tomorrow we start your transformation. I want those fools to see the kind of man I'm bringing to the reunion. But madam, Richard said, won't they ask questions about me? Just leave the talking to me, she said. From now on your name is Richard Williams, a businessman based in Abuja. Richard nodded. Yes, madam. And stop calling me madam, she added. Call me Victoria. We are lovers now, remember? He laughed. Okay, Victoria. She looked at him again. Even in dirty clothes, he was still handsome. With a little grooming he could pass for any rich man. As she walked out of the room, she whispered to herself, this reunion will be unforgettable. The next morning, Victoria knocked on the guest room door with a towel, clothes, and a brand new toothbrush in her hands. Richard, wake up. Today is makeover day. Richard opened the door, rubbing his eyes. He had slept on a soft bed for the first time in years. The scent of fresh linen still clung to his skin. Victoria handed him the items. Go take a hot shower. I've booked a salon appointment for you. We need to fix that hair and beard. Richard smiled. Yes, Victoria. And please, she added, raising an eyebrow, try to act like you've lived in a house like this before. You almost bowed to the chef yesterday. He laughed. Sorry. Old habits. An hour later, Victoria drove him to a luxury men's salon. The barbers trimmed his beard, styled his hair, and gave him a gentle facial treatment. When he stepped out, clean and glowing, Victoria blinked. You look, wow. He chuckled. Is that a compliment? Don't let it get to your head, she said quickly, looking away. Next stop was a boutique. She made him try on expensive suits, shoes, and wristwatches. After spending nearly 500,000 naira, she stood back and admired him. Now he didn't just look like a rich man. He looked like a CEO. This will work, she said proudly. The girls won't know what hit them. That evening, back at the mansion, Victoria sat with Richard in the living room and began training. Rule number 1, she said, holding a glass of wine, no begging language. Don't say madam. Don't say, a beg. Don't say, thank you ma. You are a boss. Okay, boss lady, Richard teased. She rolled her eyes but smiled. Rule number 2, when they ask about your work, say you own a tech company in Abuja. Make it sound simple and believable. He nodded. What's the company's name? She thought. How about Right Solutions? He grinned. I like that. For the next few days, Victoria taught him how to walk like a rich man, eat like a rich man, and speak with confidence. She was surprised at how quickly he learned. He was smart. Very smart. One afternoon, while helping him adjust his tie, she paused. You know, you're actually very handsome. Richard smiled, his eyes soft. Thank you. You're beautiful too, Victoria. She cleared her throat quickly and stepped back. Focus. We still have a lot to do. But as the days passed, something strange began to happen. Victoria started to laugh more. Richard made her smile with his silly jokes and calm presence. He wasn't like the arrogant rich men she had dated before. He was gentle, thoughtful, real. One night, they sat by the pool after dinner. The moonlight danced on the water and soft music played from her phone. Why are you helping me? He asked suddenly. Victoria looked at him. Honestly, I don't even know anymore. At first, it was about pride. I didn't want to be the only one without a man at the reunion. And now? She paused. Now I don't know. Maybe because you remind me of something I've been missing. He looked into her eyes. Like what? Peace, she whispered. The silence between them grew deep. But just as she was about to say more, her phone rang. It was her mother. Victoria, are you still coming to the reunion? Everyone is preparing. Yes, Mom. I'll be there. With someone special. Her mother laughed with joy. Ah, finally. I can't wait to meet him. As she hung up, Victoria turned to Richard. Get ready. You're meeting my whole family this weekend. He raised an eyebrow. Are you sure I'm ready? She smiled. Oh, you'll be perfect. But what Victoria didn't know was that Richard was not just playing along. He had a secret of his own. The family reunion day finally arrived. Victoria stood in front of her large mirror, adjusting her gold necklace. Richard walked in, looking sharp in a black fitted suit. He looked nothing like the beggar she picked from the street days ago. She turned to him and smiled. Remember everything I taught you? Yes, Richard nodded. Right solutions. Abuja. I'm your loving fiancé. We've been dating for 6 months. She grinned. Perfect. Together they walked out and got into her car. The reunion was held at Victoria's grandfather's mansion. The compound was filled with cars, decorations, and loud music. Family members chatted, laughed, and greeted one another with excitement. As Victoria and Richard stepped out of the car, all eyes turned. Gasps. Stares. Even the music seemed to pause. Victoria walked with confidence, holding Richard's arm tightly. They walked straight into the compound, ignoring the whispers. Meanwhile, inside the living room, Victoria's mother was talking with Cynthia's mother, Mrs. Sandra. Ah, Evelyn, Mrs. Sandra said with a smirk, sipping her juice. Your daughter finally came. I thought she would run away out of shame. Victoria's mother, Mrs. Evelyn, smiled calmly. Why would she run? She's a full-grown woman. A full-grown woman with no husband or boyfriend, Sandra said sharply. She's older than all her cousins, yet no man wants her. Isn't that embarrassing? Look at my daughter, young and beautiful, getting married in 2 months to a wealthy, handsome man. Evelyn raised her eyebrow. The fiancé that none of you have ever seen? Mrs. Sandra blinked. We've seen his pictures. He lives abroad. Evelyn laughed loudly. Pictures, my dear? Even I can download any man's photo from the internet. Mrs. Sandra frowned. He sends her money every week. They talk on phone daily. Evelyn moved closer. Do you know him personally? Have you seen his face on a video call? Have you met anyone from his family? Sandra hesitated. Well, no, but... Exactly, Evelyn interrupted. What a clown you are. You and your daughter are a bunch of fools. You're busy mocking my daughter while your own child is preparing to marry a ghost. Mrs. Sandra's eyes widened. Watch your mouth. No, you watch yours, Evelyn replied boldly. My daughter doesn't need to announce her relationship all over the village. She came today with her man, and wait till you see him. Just then the front door opened, and in walked Victoria holding Richard's hand. Everyone turned again. Whispers filled the air. Mrs. Sandra's mouth dropped open. Her daughter Cynthia, standing beside her, gasped loudly. Victoria smiled sweetly. Good afternoon, aunties. Mommy. Victoria's mother stood and hugged her tightly. Welcome, my child. Richard greeted respectfully. Good afternoon, Ma. Evelyn beamed. Everyone, meet Richard, my daughter's fiancé. More gasps. Mrs. Sandra stammered. Fiancé? Yes, Evelyn smiled, and a very successful businessman from Abuja. Not some fake man hiding abroad. Cynthia's face turned red. She looked like she wanted the ground to open and swallow her. You didn't tell us you had a man, one cousin whispered. Victoria laughed. Some things are better shown than told. Richard smiled calmly, greeting people as Victoria introduced him. Mrs. Sandra pulled Cynthia aside. Is this true? He looks real. Cynthia's voice trembled. I don't know, Mom. But he looks rich. And real. As the family took pictures and talked with Victoria and Richard, Cynthia stood in a corner, silent, biting her nails. Victoria walked past her slowly and whispered, Not so funny now, is it? Cynthia turned away in shame. Evelyn meanwhile stood tall and proud. Her daughter had won the day, and without shouting or showing off. But little did they know, the real twist was yet to come. The reunion continued with laughter, food, and endless conversations. Everyone wanted to know more about Victoria's handsome fiancé. Richard played his part perfectly, charming, respectful, and confident. Even Victoria's cousins who used to mock her now admired her silently. But Cynthia was not at peace. She sat in a corner pretending to scroll through her phone, but her eyes were fixed on Richard. Something didn't sit right. Just a few weeks ago Victoria had no boyfriend. Now she shows up with a prince in a suit. She leaned closer to her mother. Mom, I don't trust that guy. Mrs. Sandra frowned. Why? He's too perfect. What if he's a fraud? What if he's just acting? Her mother sighed. Cynthia, not again. You already embarrassed us enough. Let it go. But Cynthia wouldn't. No, Mom. I'll find out who he really is. Watch me. Meanwhile, Victoria and Richard were sitting in the garden under a canopy enjoying some fresh juice. They laughed and whispered like a real couple. Victoria couldn't believe how happy she felt. For the first time in a long while, she didn't feel judged. She didn't feel lonely. She felt seen. You've done well, she said, sipping her drink. I owe you a big thank you. Richard looked at her softly. It's okay. I've actually enjoyed this. Victoria smiled. You're not bad company yourself. Suddenly Richard's phone buzzed in his pocket. He frowned. Victoria noticed. Is everything all right? He stood quickly. Excuse me. I need to take this call. He walked behind the building, out of sight. Once he was sure no one could hear him, he answered. Hello? Sir, said a voice, where are you? The board meeting starts in 60 minutes. I told you I'm taking a few days off, Richard replied in a low voice. We understand, but there's an issue with the Gunna project. Investors are panicking. Richard rubbed his forehead. Handle it. I'll return by Monday. Just calm them down. Yes, sir. He ended the call and sighed. Everything was going well, but he knew this couldn't last forever. He was falling for Victoria, and she had no idea who he really was. After the family reunion ended, Victoria and Richard drove back home in silence. It wasn't an awkward silence. It was the kind of silence that came with deep emotions. So much had happened. So many eyes had stared. So many mouths had whispered. But Victoria didn't care. She had shown the world that she was not just a rich woman without love. She had walked in with the most handsome, respectful, and intelligent man anyone had seen. And now, sitting beside him, she felt something strong in her heart. They arrived at the mansion. Richard opened the door for her like a gentleman and followed her into the house. They both sat in the living room, quiet for a moment. Then Richard broke the silence. Victoria. She looked up at him. He took a deep breath. I need to tell you something. She nodded slowly. Go ahead. He moved closer and looked into her eyes. I love you. Her heart stopped for a second. What? I said I love you, he repeated softly. I know it started like a game, a deal. But somewhere along the line, I fell for you. You're strong, beautiful, proud yet kind. I've never met anyone like you. Victoria blinked. She had been waiting to hear those words. She just didn't expect them tonight. Tears filled her eyes. Richard, I love you too. I've been waiting for you to say that. Please stay. Don't leave. He looked away, thinking for a moment. I have to go on Monday, he said quietly. There are things I must take care of. But I promise I will call you. And I will visit you often. She held his hand. Just promise me one thing. Anything. Never go back to that street. The place I found you. Please, never sit there again. Never beg. Even if things get hard. He smiled gently. Never. I won't even pass that road. The money you gave me is enough to start a small business. You saved me, Victoria. I'll never forget that. She moved closer and hugged him tightly. You saved me too, she whispered. He looked at her, brushed her cheek gently with his fingers, then leaned in and kissed her softly. She didn't pull away. Instead, she kissed him back, holding him right like someone she never wanted to lose that night. They stayed up talking and laughing like two people who had known each other forever. There was no more pretending, no more acting, just real love between a rich girl and the man she once thought was just a beggar. But deep inside Richard's heart, one thing kept bothering him. He hadn't told her the whole truth. He wasn't starting a small business. He already owned one of the biggest companies in Africa. He wasn't a beggar by mistake, he had been hiding on purpose. And soon the truth would come out. But for now, he just wanted to enjoy the moment. The next morning, Victoria was in her room feeling fresh and happy. She had just finished talking to Richard on the phone. He told her he had arrived safely at his apartment and promised to call her again later in the evening. Her heart was full of joy. Suddenly her phone rang again. Cynthia. Victoria rolled her eyes and sighed. What does this one want again? She answered the call and placed the phone on speaker. What is it, Cynthia? She said without greeting. Cynthia's voice came sharp and proud. I just called to remind you that my husband-to-be is far more handsome and richer than that fake CEO you're parading around. Victoria burst into laughter so loud. You must be dreaming, Victoria replied between laughs. Cynthia, how can you be so confident about a man you've never even met? I've seen his pictures, Cynthia snapped. Oh please, Victoria clapped her hands in mock praise. Pictures that you copied from Instagram. You don't even know if the man is real or a scammer, swears. You're out here defending a ghost fiancé. He sends me money every week. Cynthia shouted. Victoria shook her head and laughed harder. Money that might be from Yahoo Boys. You said your fiancé is abroad, yet not once has he video called you. Cynthia, please go and sit down. He's busy. Cynthia fired back. And for your information, he's going to be a billionaire very soon. Victoria giggled. You wish. Cynthia, even your fiancé can't spell the word billionaire, just like you can't even spell your own name without checking your bank statement. Cynthia gasped. You're insulting me. Victoria stood up from her bed. Yes. You don't have sense. You always come to disturb me with nonsense. My man is here, real, fine, tall, and hardworking. You're still hiding in one unknown WhatsApp group chat. You're just jealous. Cynthia shouted. I'm getting married soon. Victoria cut her off. Jealous of what? A clown like you? Girl, please. I've had enough. I've been patient with your stupidity since your mother failed to train you. I'll finish the job for her. Don't you dare bring my mother into this. Cynthia screamed. Oh, shut up, Victoria said, waving her hand in the air. Let me help you rest your miserable life. And with that, she tapped the block button on her phone. She smiled as the screen showed, you have blocked this contact. Finally, she whispered. Peace has returned. She tossed her phone on the bed and walked to the mirror, still smiling. This is why I can never marry a man like your so-called fiancé, she said to herself. Empty packaging. No value. Just noise. She took a deep breath and looked at her reflection. But Richard, she whispered, you're different. You're real. Meanwhile, far away, Richard sat in his luxurious apartment staring at his phone. He missed her already. He scrolled through her pictures, smiling to himself. 3 days after the reunion, Cynthia stood at the gate waiting with her mom. They were both dressed up, makeup done, and expectations high. Cynthia's so-called fiancé from abroad had finally returned to Nigeria and was coming to see her for the first time in person. He's probably coming in a big black SUV, Cynthia said, adjusting her hair and fixing her fake smile. But when the car finally arrived, it was an old taxi. The driver stepped out and helped a man out of the back seat. The man was in a wheelchair. Cynthia's smile disappeared immediately. What's this? She whispered. The man rolled forward, smiling warmly. Hello, Cynthia, I'm Kingsley, your fiancé. Cynthia stepped back. Fiancé? In a wheelchair? Her mother forced a tight smile, but her eyes were already scanning the wheelchair. Kingsley's smile faded. Yes, I had a terrible accident 2 years ago. I've been in therapy since then. I wanted to tell you, but I was afraid. She cut him off. Afraid of what? That I would reject you? You lied to me. I didn't lie, he said calmly. I just couldn't find the right way to say it. I knew if I told you the truth from the beginning, you would never give me a chance. You're right, she shouted. I can't marry someone like you. She stormed back into the house. You tricked me. Mrs. Sandra followed her quickly, leaving Kingsley sad and alone at the gate. Inside the house, Cynthia paced angrily in the living room. I can't believe this, Mom. How can I marry someone in a wheelchair? Her mother looked at her. Calm down, she said. Let's think this through. What is there to think about? I can't marry a man in a wheelchair. Cynthia cried. Mrs. Sandra walked closer and spoke in a low, serious voice. Listen to me. You will marry him. What? Yes. You will manage him for now. After the wedding, wait for 3 years, then we'll find a smart lawyer, take him to court, divorce him, and collect everything he owns. Cynthia's eyes widened. Mom, are you serious? Yes. But don't get pregnant. We don't want you stuck with any disabled child. Just be smart, treat him well at first. Later, we strike. Cynthia nodded slowly, wiping her tears. I can do that. Mrs. Sandra smiled. That's my girl. But they had no idea someone else had heard everything. Victoria's mother Evelyn had come to visit her father's house and overheard their loud voices through the open window. She didn't say anything. She just walked away quietly. An hour later, Victoria sat on her couch when her mom called. Pick up, Evelyn whispered as the phone rang. Hello, Mom, Victoria answered. My daughter, her mother laughed. You won't believe what I just heard. What happened? Cynthia's rich fiancé has finally landed in Nigeria, and he's in a wheelchair. Victoria almost dropped her phone. What? Yes. That's why he never called her on video. He's crippled. Victoria burst into loud, uncontrollable laughter. Her mother joined in. Mom, this girl is really stupid, Victoria said between laughs. I mean, there's nothing wrong with marrying a disabled person. But the same Cynthia that insulted me, the same girl who mocked me and called Richard a fake man, look at her now. I heard everything, Evelyn added. She shouted that she can't marry him. Guess what? Her mother told her to go ahead, marry him, and later divorce him to collect his money. Victoria shook her head. That family is something else. So ungrateful. After everything Kingsley did for her, sent her money, treated her well, now this wickedness? She deserves it, Evelyn said. And my daughter, Richard is 1,000 times better. That boy is kind, smart, and most importantly, he's real. Victoria smiled. I know, Mom. And to think Cynthia once said I had nothing. They both laughed again. This life, Evelyn said. Tables always turn. They turn well, Mom, Victoria replied. Very well. 2 weeks later, Victoria walked into a beautiful restaurant holding Richard's hand. It was quiet, elegant, and decorated with roses. She had no idea what was about to happen. Why are we here? She asked, smiling. Richard looked into her eyes. I want to tell you the full truth about me. Victoria tilted her head. What do you mean? He took a deep breath. Victoria, my name is Richard Edwards. I am not just someone starting a small business. I'm already a billionaire and the CEO of Edwards Global Tech. Victoria froze. What? He smiled gently. I was pretending to be poor when we met. I was tired of fake people chasing me for money. I wanted to find someone real, and I found you. Tears filled her eyes, not from anger but from shock and joy. You mean you're that Richard Edwards? The one on TV? He nodded. She covered her mouth. Oh my God. And one more thing, he said, reaching into his pocket. He knelt down on one knee and brought out a sparkling diamond ring. Victoria, you gave me your heart when you thought I had nothing. You respected me, taught me, and made me feel loved. Will you marry me? She was shaking. Yes, she screamed, covering her face with her hands. Yes, yes, yes. The few people in the restaurant clapped and cheered as he slipped the ring on her finger. They hugged tightly, both of them smiling like fools. The next day, the news hit social media like wildfire. Billionaire Richard Edwards is engaged to Victoria Adams, the lucky bride-to-be. Even blogs and newspapers picked up the story. One person who saw the news and almost choked on her food was Cynthia. "What?" she screamed, dropping her spoon. "No, it can't be her." She rushed to her room, wore a fancy dress, and told her mother she had somewhere important to go. "Where?" her mother asked. "To destroy a gold digger's happiness," she replied, storming out of the house. At Richard's company office, he sat behind his large glass desk, smiling as he looked at Victoria's pictures on his phone. Suddenly, the receptionist knocked. "Sir, there's a woman here. She said she's your fiancé's cousin. Should I send her in?" He frowned slightly. "Yes." Cynthia walked in with a fake smile. "Good afternoon, Mr. Richard." He nodded. "Cynthia. I came to warn you," she began, sitting without being invited. "Victoria is not who you think she is. She's a gold digger. She uses people. She once said she would only marry a rich man. She even laughed at disabled people." "Enough," Richard said coldly. Cynthia froze. He leaned forward. "I know everything about Victoria. Her past. Her struggles. Her heart. And you? You're nothing but a bitter liar." Her eyes widened. "I'm only trying to help." "No. You're trying to destroy. But you failed." He picked up his phone. "Security will escort you out." As she stood to leave, he added, "And Cynthia, don't ever mention my fiancé again." She walked out, embarrassed and ashamed. That evening, Richard called Victoria and told her everything. Victoria was not surprised. "That girl never gives up," she said, shaking her head. "Let me call my mom. She needs to hear this." 10 minutes later, Victoria's mother, Mrs. Evelyn, called Mrs. Sandra, Cynthia's mother. She didn't hold back. "So your daughter had the guts to go and lie to my daughter's fiancé?" Evelyn barked. "Do you people ever learn shame?" "Evelyn, calm down. Don't tell me to calm down. Your daughter is as useless as your parenting. You people insulted my daughter, mocked her, and now that she's happy, you want to destroy it." She was only trying to lie. She was trying to lie. Just like you told her to marry that poor crippled man and then divorce him to steal his money. What kind of mother are you? Sandra was silent. Evelyn continued, "Let me warn you. If your daughter comes near my child again, I will personally disgrace her in public. Tell her to face her own fake fiancé and leave mine alone." She ended the call without waiting for a reply. Cynthia sat in the living room of her house sulking. Since her last attempt to destroy Victoria had failed, nothing was going right for her. Kingsley, her fiancé, had not called her for days. She hadn't seen him either. Suddenly, the front door opened. Kingsley rolled in, but this time, not in a wheelchair. He walked in on his 2 feet. Cynthia jumped up from the chair, her eyes wide. "You can walk?" Kingsley stood tall, calm, and confident. "Yes, I can." Cynthia took a step back. "So all this time, you were pretending?" He nodded. "Yes, I had to." "Why?" she asked, her voice shaking. He walked closer and looked straight into her eyes. "Because I needed to know the truth about you." She blinked. "I don't understand." "It all started when I showed your picture to my friend weeks ago," he explained. "I told him you were the woman I planned to marry. He looked at me and said, 'You're joking.' Cynthia. That girl is a gold digger. I bet she doesn't love you. If you become broke or disabled, she'll leave you in a heartbeat." Cynthia's mouth hung open. "I didn't believe him," Kingsley continued. "So I came up with a plan. I pretended to be a poor, crippled man to see how you'd react. And I failed, Cynthia whispered. Failed woefully, he replied. She fell on her knees. Kingsley, please, I was confused. The devil pushed me. My mother also gave me bad advice. Stop, he shouted, stepping back. Don't blame the devil. Don't blame your mother. You made your choice. Tears rolled down her face. I loved you, he said softly. Even with what I heard, I still wanted to give you a chance. But you showed me your true self. Please don't leave me, she begged, holding his legs. Please. I can change. It's too late, he said. I don't want a wife who sees disability as disgrace. I want a woman who values people, not their pockets. He turned and walked away, leaving her on the floor, broken. Cynthia sat alone at the back of a dark, quiet bar. Her heart felt like a stone in her chest. The news of Victoria's engagement to a billionaire was everywhere. The internet, blogs, even their street gossipers couldn't stop talking about it. She had lost everything. The man she thought would change her life had walked out on her, exposed her, and disappeared. Her plans had failed. Her pride was crushed. She raised another glass of alcohol and gulped it down. Another one, she told the bartender, slurring her words. Miss, you've had enough, the man said softly. I said another one, she shouted. He sighed and poured her one more shot. After her fifth drink, Cynthia staggered outside. Her eyes were red, her makeup ruined, her clothes stained with dust and sweat. She could barely walk straight, but she managed to get a bike to take her home. That evening, Cynthia pushed open the front door and stumbled in. Her mother, Mrs. Sandra, was sitting on the couch. When she saw Cynthia, she frowned. Where are you coming from looking like that? Cynthia didn't answer. She walked in slowly, then suddenly turned with tears in her eyes. You destroyed me. Mrs. Sandra raised an eyebrow. What are you talking about? Cynthia pointed a shaky finger at her. You destroyed my life with your lies, your bad advice, your wicked training. Cynthia, stop. No, she shouted. You told me to fake love. You told me to marry and divorce him for money. You told me not to get pregnant, just in case the child is disabled. Mrs. Sandra stood. And you listened, because you're stupid. Don't blame me for your own foolishness. I dislike you. Cynthia screamed. I should have followed my heart. I should have married a good man. But no, your greed ruined me. Now I've lost everything. Without thinking, she reached into her handbag, pulled out a small pistol, and raised it. You ruined me, she shouted, shaking with anger. Everything I lost is because of you. Before her mother could speak, Cynthia pulled the trigger. Her mother dropped to the floor. Cynthia stared at her body with a blank face. No tears. No guilt. She walked slowly to the chair and sat down, breathing hard. But a neighbor had heard the gunshot. Within minutes, the police arrived, knocked down the door, and rushed inside. They found Cynthia sitting calmly beside her mother's body, still holding the gun. One officer shouted, "Drop the weapon." She did not argue. She dropped it, raised her hands, and said coldly, she deserved it. She was handcuffed and dragged out of the house. 2 weeks later, Cynthia was sentenced to 20 years in prison for unaliving her mother. As for Victoria, her life was full of joy and peace. She and Richard had their wedding in a beautiful garden full of flowers and smiling faces. She wore a glowing white dress, and Richard looked elegant in black and gold. During their vows, Richard smiled at her and said, "You loved me when you thought I had nothing. And you gave me peace when my world was full of noise." Victoria replied, smiling. They kissed. Everyone clapped. Victoria's mother Evelyn wiped a tear as she whispered, "This is how it's meant to be. No more insults. No more shame. No more pretending. Just love. Real love. And happily ever after." Dear viewers, what lessons did you take away from this dramatic tale? We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed the story, give us a thumbs up, share it with friends, and hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to turn on notifications so you never miss out on our latest updates. Thanks for watching, and stay blessed.